Joy is what you are. Joy is what you are. God, you are my peace. God, you are my peace. Peace is what you are. Peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Love is what you are. Love is what you are. God, you are my joy. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. Joy is what oh, my joy, my peace, my love. Oh, you are my joy, my you are help. God, you are oh, my love. So good to know you are. And my love. Oh, my joy, my peace, my love. Let's break it down. Joy, peace, love, joy, peace, and love. Oh, you are. Oh, you are. You are. So glad to know you are. Love. You're the joy when I need it. You're the peace when I need it. The love when I seek it. Oh, my joy. Love. God, you are
I'm Jen, and I'm so very happy to be celebrating with you today. One thing you'll learn about CSC is that our vision, mission, and purpose guide everything that we do. The vision. Celebration Spiritual Center is a God experience that turns on the heart, mind, and soul of the world. The God experience is a realization of oneness that transcends material sense. Our mission and purpose is to awaken the world to the presence of God within and all around us. To celebrate this truth as one family, embody unconditional love, equip humanity to live our greatest lives, and to serve all creation. The centering thought for this month's meditation is love, joy, and peace abide in me. And the song for the month is Go Within. We continue with the August message series, The Secret Sauce, a recipe for transformation. Pastor Greg's topic today is Practical Dreamers. It's time for your CSC news and updates. Regular hours resume Sunday, September 1st. Doors open at 10:30 a.m. and celebration begins promptly at 11 a.m. Sunday, September 1st. Come and get clarity about what's going on in your life. Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda are here to support you in applying what you learn at CSC to daily life experiences. Join us today at 12:30 for the God Talk. No question is off limits. Do you have a prosperous mindset?
Yes.
I didn't hear that. Do you have a prosperous mindset?
Yes.
There we go. Yeah. A prosperous mindset will open doors for you, bring ease and flow to all your activities, heal your relationships, and bring freedom and joy. You can have all of these things and more in 12 weeks or less. Go to celebrationsc.org/register to learn about the 4T Prosperity Program and how you can study the principles of prosperity with Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda. This is the final 4T class of 2019, so sign up today. Save the date. Endless Summer with Family and Friends is coming. We know that all good things must come to an end, so we are going to celebrate every bit of the summer season. Our Friends and Family outdoor event has officially been rescheduled to Sunday, September 8th. Invite your friends and family to join us for the services at 11 a.m. and then enjoy the good food and fellowship afterwards out on the plaza. Start your day by knowing the truth of who and whose you are. Pastor Greg, Pastor Yolanda, and the prayer champions pray with us and for us every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Call details can be found at the member services table, on our website, or on social media. Connect with us this Wednesday and advance confidently into your day. Now just a few, text to give. I gotta say that first. It's fast, easy, and secure. You can text your dollar amount to 347-744-9500, then follow the prompts. Now minimum donation is $10. Again, that number is 347-744-9500. Try it out today. Now, just a few housekeeping reminders. No food or drink is allowed in the sanctuary except for water. However, please make sure that water is covered and no audio or video recording is permitted during services. And now we have a few announcements from Pastor Greg, but before that, I just want to say thank you for celebrating with us, and we'll see you next week.
Good morning again, everyone. Two quick announcements. The first is that Soul 21 auditions will be taking place next Sunday. The requirements for audition is that you must have previous singing experience. This is not an opportunity to learn how to sing. That's not the purpose of Soul 21. Additionally, you will need to be available weekly. We hold rehearsals every Tuesday evening, so you would need to be available for that and also available to serve a minimum of 2 Sundays per month. If you would like to audition for Soul 21, please go to the host table, check out the iPads. You'll see there under our classes and events, you'll see the opportunity to sign up so that we can have your name and all your information. And again, we will hold auditions next Sunday after service. Okay. Second announcement is our new 90 Days to Greatness class starts tomorrow, and we're going to be doing a what I've called an Abraham Hicks Masterclass. We're going to be digging in to the teachings of Abraham Hicks and looking at and focusing on the 3 universal laws as taught by Abraham. When we understand what the law of attraction truly is, when we understand the law of deliberate creation, and when we understand the law of allowing, we can exercise mastery in our lives. That class starts tomorrow. You can still register for the class. You should see the links on our Facebook page, on my Facebook page. If you can't find the link, just come see me. But we start tomorrow, so if you want to get in, you got to get in quickly. All right? Beautiful.
Love, joy, and peace abide in me. That is the centering thought for our meditation this month. I love this affirmation because many times we spend all of our lives seeking God, seeking love, seeking joy, seeking peace. Thank you. And we forget that it's already within us. And sometimes we forget that because our focus is on the external world. Our focus is on what's going wrong. Our focus is on what someone else should have done. But when we close our eyes, there's a presence. There's a knowingness. There's a connection that has never been severed, not by time or circumstances. And when we realize that this God is alive and well within us, all we have to do is go within. I like to say that many times we spend our time seeking and studying, and that's great. We teach a lot here at CSC. But the only way to know God is to feel God. I can recite every book, every sacred text, but if I don't have an experience of God alive within me, then it's just information. We want you to have the information, and we want you to internalize it, so that no matter what the conditions, you know where God, where love and joy and peace abide. So let's practice that right now. Let's close our eyes. And bring our feet to the floor. And rest our backs against the chairs. And as your eyes are closed, just notice from the inside, just notice that feeling of being supported by a chair. I like to call it this physical representation of the universe holding you. Scanning the body from the inside and noticing the breath. We don't have to adjust the breath, we just notice that it's there. And with each breath, we relax our body a little more. We may notice the sounds in the room, we may notice the music. We allow it to support our relaxation. And as we settle in a little more, let's bring our focus to the feet. And feel them slightly heavy. Allow them to surrender to the earth. It's as if our toes relax, our heels relax, and make connection to this ground beneath us and the God that is creating all of this energy. We feel the energy now moving, relaxing our ankles, and now the energy travels up our calves and shins. We relax the calves and the shins. In your mind and in your body, feel the energy traveling across your knees. Surrender that will, those knees, and relax. Energy now travels up our thighs and settles in our seat. Relax the hips. Relax the seat. And as energy goes and flows, we allow it to travel up and activate our chakras. Traveling up our spine, connecting one energy field to the next, balancing the wall. Energy traveling up our spine and out the crown of our head, and gathering above us this collective energy, then flowing back down through the crown, traveling across our shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Arms relax. And if you choose, you can turn the palms up, opening a little more. Feel the gentle breeze across the palms, relaxing the fingers. Now notice the right palm. And together we're going to breathe into our right side. Inhale to the right side now, breathe in. And exhale down the left side. Inhale up the left side. Exhale down the right. Each breath inhaling up the right. And now exhaling down the left. Gentle rocking, inhale up the left side. And exhale down the right. A few more rounds on your own. Inhale up. Exhale down. It's as if you're being held and rocked by God. Inhale up. Exhale down. Last round. Inhale up. Exhale down. Bringing that energy front and center. Inhale all the way up through the heart. Hold it there. Open the mouth and exhale. Beautiful. One more time. Inhale all the way up through the heart. Hold it there, relaxing the shoulder blades down, opening, creating space and release. Last time. Inhale all the way up. Hold it there. And this time, close the lips, exhale through the nose. Each breath brings you deeper into the center of your being. Each full breath activates love, joy, and peace within you. And as we sing these words, as we affirm this truth of God being within you, you just take that journey, drawing to you love, joy, and peace as we sing. Go within.
The love of God sustains you.
Go within. Go within, yeah.
Open my body and soul.
Go within. And let every voice, but the voice that is God, let it be still. Now. We hear the sounds in the room, but we enjoy the internal awareness. We enjoy the innocence of this moment with our eyes closed. We just relax into this knowingness that love, joy, and peace abide in me. And all we have to do is go within. It hasn't gone anywhere. It remains with us at all times. We activate it now. We feel it even more aware and alive now. We just sit in the awareness of love's presence. And the innocence we hear in the room is the innocence that is reflected within us. So we allow it. We allow it. We enjoy it. We remember our own innocence as we go within. Go within.
The love of God sustains you.
Go within. Go within. Yeah.
Open my body and soul.
Go within.
You'll find the answers you seek.
What's within?
So go within and return to love.
Return to this place.
To love.
Return to this peace.
To love.
Return to this joy. Anytime you want it, just go within.
Go within and return to love.
Return to love.
To love.
Return to peace.
To love.
Return to the God that's alive.
Go within and return
Start to bring yourself back now. Go ahead and bring your palms together and heart center. Bow your chin to your fingertips. Slowly flutter the eyes open. Taking a point on the floor in front of you. Now inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Namaste.
All right. So as we sang earlier, God, you are my joy, my peace, my love, that there's an interesting word that we use there, my. Because we could say, God, you are love, God, you are joy, God, you are peace. And that could mess us up, because then we're still thinking about God as something outside of ourselves. But God is not only this thing that is everywhere at all times, but it is also within us. At the very cellular level of our being, there is holiness, there is divinity. So that my is very important. So this song takes us even deeper into that understanding, that when we understand that God is all there is, we understand that it is our everything, my everything. It's the thing that I live, move, and have my being in. When you breathe in air, that's your air. I can't breathe in your air. That's God. That's your God that you're breathing in. The blood that's flowing in your veins, that is your God. God within you, my God, flowing through your veins. Yes, yes? It is your absolute everything. In you I live and breathe. You're and all I see. You are life in me, my everything. All right, yeah.
Your infinity, stars and galaxies. Yeah.
You are life in me, my everything. There is one life. Yeah, yeah. It's the power.
that's behind everything we know.
It says it loves me. And it says I'm worthy.
It says I'm worthy.
And there is nothing that can change.
This love inside of me.
Where would I be without this love?
Where would I be without this love?
Where would I be without this joy?
Where would I be without this joy?
In you I live and breathe.
Why
You're in all I see. And you are life in me. My everything. Your infinity. The stars and the galaxies. You are life in me. My everything. Yeah. It's in the mountains. And it's in the flowers. It's the power that we use to create the life we see. Oh, and it says it loves me. And it says I'm worthy. And there is nothing that can change this love. Oh, where? Oh, nothing exists without love. No, nothing exists without love. Tell me where. My everything. Your infinity, the stars, the galaxies. Oh, you are life in me.
You're my everything. Oh, in you I live and breathe. You're my everything. Soul 21. Can you sing that for me? You're my everything. You're my everything. You, I live and breathe, yeah. I live and breathe. Oh, my. You're everything. And you tell me I'm worthy. I live and breathe. Tell me you love me. Tell me I'm worthy, yeah. Tell me you love me, my everything. I live and breathe. Oh, you're my everything. You're my. This is personal. In you I live and breathe. Make it personal. You're in all I see, yeah, yeah. God, love, peace, joy, youth, whatever name feels good to you right now. You live in it, you move in it, you're swimming in it, yeah. You're mine. Oh God, we live
So it is. So it is. Yes, that feels good. As it always feels good up in here. Good morning again. CSC family, good to see you all. Good to be here with you all. Good morning, beautiful. It's so good to be here with each and every one of you. And of course, I'm excited about the series. I think we've been having a good time, and I've been hearing from many of you here in person and online that this series has been beneficial. I'm happy to hear that. So we're gonna just take it a little deeper. We started in week 1 with what happens before surgery. Last week was deep in my heart, and we're talking about the secret sauce. It's based on this formula that in the episode of My 600-Pound Life, Dr. Now, who is a renowned surgeon and has worked with so many patients to help them achieve their weight loss goals, and really not just achieve weight loss goals, but really to take them from the brink of death. He offered 4 things that are necessary for massive change. And what I recognize is that these things that he shares are things that are necessary no matter what type of change or transformation you're seeking to make in your life. Number 1 is a proper understanding of the problem. That's what we talked about in week 1. Number 2, last week we talked about the right attitude. 3 is desire. And 4 is a willingness to work hard. So we're going to talk about desire today, number 3, and I want to offer you, because I'm going to refer to 2 different books. One, Think and Grow Rich. Chapter 2 is the chapter on desire, the starting point of all achievement. So I invite you to grab that book if you don't have it in your library, and to spend some time this week reading and rereading that chapter. It is rich and full of information. The second book is one that many of you are familiar with if you've taken 90 Days to Greatness, Best Year Ever with me, and it's It Works by R.H.J. It's a very, very small little text, but very powerful. And finally, I invite you to visit or revisit a sermon titled You're Turning Me On. It's from the Reimagine the Bible series, part 1. And there I talk about desire, and specifically we go to the Song of Songs or the Song of Solomon and talk about sexual desire in the Bible. But I use that text to really get us into an understanding. Many times there are folks that feel that to desire something is wrong, like we're not supposed to desire things, and there's sort of this wrestling that happens there. And so I go to that text to help us to heal that. So many of you may not be able to hear all of what I'm saying today because you may not have healed that idea that first there's nothing wrong with desire, right? So that's why I want you to go back to that sermon. But we're gonna dig a little deeper. And so in talking about desire, in that episode, Dr. Now, he says something interesting as he gives out the 4 things: a proper understanding of the problem, the right attitude, desire, and a willingness to work hard. He says that desire doesn't matter if you don't have the proper attitude. So this is why we had to talk about the right attitude last week, because otherwise we could not properly understand desire. And let's think about it. What did we talk about last week? This formula from a portion of a speech from Malcolm X, where he talks about first you have to have right philosophy. And from right philosophy, that creates right thought patterns. From right thought patterns, that creates the right attitude. So the reason why we can't talk about desire first, because if your philosophy is in error, right, it's going to create thought patterns that are in error. And so then that creates an attitude, a way of being. So then your desire is actually going to not manifest in the way that you would want. And we went a little step deeper. I talked about the manifestation equation. The manifestation equation, it's an acronym TEAM, T-E-E-M. Thought times emotion plus expectation equals manifestation. And what we want to focus on is the second E, because expectation is our desire, our belief, or our acceptance. And so what happens is we may have a thought with an emotion, I want to be a millionaire, right? But in the E, expectation, our belief and our acceptance of that idea may be a little shaky, right? Or we may not be aware of certain desires that we're holding unconsciously that are blocking what it is that we really want. So it's important that we understand. We've talked about right philosophy, creating right thought patterns. We've talked about right attitude. Now we can talk about desire. So in the chapter, Desire, the Starting Point of All Achievement, and Think and Grow Rich, we read this. This changed world requires practical dreamers who can and will put their dreams into action. The practical dreamers have always been and always will be the pattern makers of civilization. He goes on, we should remember the real leaders of the world always have been men and women who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunity and have converted those forces or impulses of thought into skyscrapers, cities, factories, airplanes, automobiles, and every form of convenience that makes life more pleasant. I was going to say present. More pleasant, okay? So he's saying here something interesting. He's saying here that desire is a prerequisite for action. But what's interesting, he's also saying here that the men and women who have successfully learned how to transform desire into form, into manifestation, he calls them practical dreamers. And the reason he calls them practical dreamers is because they have moved from theory to practice. You see, there are a lot of dreamers. The world is full of dreamers, but the world needs more people who are practicing dreamers or practical dreamers. I want to read that again, what he says. This changed world requires practical dreamers who can and will put their dreams into action. He said, we should remember the real leaders of the world always have been those who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunity and converted those forces or impulses of thought into things, skyscrapers, cities, factories, airplanes, automobiles, and every form of convenience that makes life more. But it is not full of practicing or practical dreamers that have taken and understand how to take thought into thing and then make that a reality. That's what we need. So a practical dreamer then must fully understand desire, must understand how to take her desires, must understand how to take his desires and bring it into form. So there's 4 things I'm going to talk about today. I want to talk about imagination. I want to talk about definiteness of purpose, the problem with specificity, and how to get beyond specificity. So when we're looking at imagination, I'll go back to Think and Grow Rich in the chapter on desire, the starting point of all riches. Again, that's chapter 2. Get the book, read, and reread that chapter this week. In that text we read, if you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank account balance. He goes on, those who are afraid of new ideas are doomed before they start. And he also says, let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer. So first, what he's saying here is that to understand desire, you have to use your imagination. You have to actually have some kind of sense or picture in your mind. Imagine, image. You have to have a picture in your mind. You will never see that thing that you want in tangible form if you can't see it in your mind. If you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Yes, yes? He also says, and one that is able to imagine, you're not afraid of new ideas. Those who are afraid of new ideas are doomed before they start. Because let's think about it. The thing that you want is something you're not experiencing. It's not something you're seeing or tasting or touching right now. So you need something new that you're seeking to bring into your life or into the world. So you cannot be afraid of new ideas. You're doomed before you start because that's the point. We're bringing forth a new idea. And then finally, let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of ways that dreamers are ridiculed. There are a lot of ways that dreamers are misunderstood. There are a lot of stories that might say, well, you see, all she did was dream. and we scorn the dreamer. Let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer, because if you do, then you cannot manifest that which you desire. So a practical dreamer does not talk about her desires. A practical dreamer does not just simply think about her desires. A practical dreamer writes her desires. And this is important when we're talking about imagination. When I'm talking about making use of imagination, again, I'm not talking about talking about it, right? That's maybe a level of a first level of getting to imagination. That's not making use of your imagination. A practical dreamer does not just think about their desires. A practical dreamer writes their desires. And this is the imagination step. This is very important. Now, if we read in the scriptures, in the First Testament, Old Testament scriptures, we read in the wisdom text of Proverbs, we know it. Where there's no vision, the people perish. Now, I love the New Revised Standard Translation because it gives us a deeper clue into what that was all about. Where there is no prophecy, the people cast off restraint, but happy are those who keep the law. What this is saying is that when you take the opportunity in your life to image and imagine and write down your vision, it is like you are prophesying over your life. You are declaring and decreeing what your life shall be. Now, when you do not have anything that's declaring and decreeing, when you yourself are not doing that, the people cast off restraint in the sense that there's nothing to guide you. There's nothing to focus you. The restraint, your prophecy, your vision, that thing which you've written down is what is guiding you and restraining you and carrying you and focusing you and leading you into the thing that you want. So I'm going to paraphrase this a couple ways. There's so many beautiful ways to think about this. Just so I can say simply, when you don't write down your vision, you have nothing to focus on. When you don't write down your vision, you have nothing to focus you. Right? Now it's interesting because it also says, happy are those who keep the law. Those who keep the law are those who work with the law. See, a practical dreamer works with the law. A practical dreamer understands and knows how this thing works. Knows that there is something that is responding to us. Call it what you want, call it what you will, but know that it responds to you and you work with it. You write down the prophecy, you write down the vision, you write down the dream. We could think about it this way. Where there is no seed, the soil is without purpose. Now we would understand and we know what the soil is and how it works. But if there was no seed, the soil would simply be impotent. The soil, we wouldn't even know what it really does because it would just be a bunch of brown dirt doing nothing. Where there is no seed, the soil is without purpose. And so your vision is like planting the seed in the ground. You could have the most beautiful, nourishing soil in the world, but without a seed, it is without purpose. Imagine a runner without a goal. They're just running around and around and around. There's no finish line. Imagine a basketball player without a net. Where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Where there is no vision, the people perish. So in thinking about this imagination and recognizing that we write down what it is that we want, both Think and Grow Rich here in this chapter on desire is where you get the formula in Think and Grow Rich for your statement of desire, and Napoleon Hill tells you how to do that. In the text, It Works by R.H.J., he shares something as well, I believe it's in the 3rd chapter, providing methods for writing down your desire. And one of the things is that in both texts, and there's no good teacher worth their salt that won't say this, that when you're writing down whatever it is that you've written down and you got to that point that you have it, you must read it morning and evening. Sometimes morning, afternoon, and evening. But you must continue to read it day in and day out. What that means is when doubt arises, read your vision. What that means is that when fear arises, read your vision. That means that when you have a conversation with your friend and your friend reflects back to you your worries, read your vision. Now, did you hear what I said? Yes. I said, when you have a conversation with your friend and they reflect back to you what you've been worrying about. I didn't say when you have haters, read your vision. I didn't say when people doubt you, read your vision. That's not what I said. I said when they actually support you because they're a mirror and you're getting to see where your worry, doubt, and fear really is, read your vision. When you're feeling lonely, read your vision. When you come home frustrated from a day, read your vision. When you don't get that loan, read your vision. When you're feeling stuck, read your vision. This gives life to your vision within your own mind. And this is what a practical dreamer understands. Because we recognize that we have to give life to our vision. R.H.J. writes this, and it works. Occasional wishing or half-hearted wanting does not form a perfect connection or communication with your omnipotent power. You must be earnest, sincerely, and truthfully desiring certain conditions or things, mental, physical, or spiritual. And that's what this does. It takes you out of wishing. It takes you even out of hoping. I love what Ernest Holmes says, hope is an unconscious compromise. I'm not talking about hope. I'm talking about knowing. A practical dreamer knows, a practical dreamer lives in that place. And so in Think and Grow Rich, we hear this other idea that we must have a definiteness of purpose and a burning desire. And that's what this process starts to get us to do. We start to get into this place where we're definite about who we will be. We're definite about what we will have. We're definite about what we will do. We're definite about the experience that we will have. We're definite about what it will bring us. We're definite about how we will feel as a result. And then that turns into a burning desire. It turns into this no matter what place. It turns into this yes place. I'm thinking about when we do visioning and we move into that place of the sacred yes factor. It was beautiful. We used to talk to Malcolm about this when she was younger. She would tell us about some of her plans and things she wanted to do in her life and in the world, and then she would tell us about a plan B, and we're like, plan B? What's that? You just told us what you want to be and what you want to have, yes? There is no plan B. But see, because we've been taught to live in this place of fear and safety, right? We put a plan B in, but the thing is, the way it works, if you're imagining plan B, what are you going to create? The need for plan B. So this is why this definiteness of purpose and this burning desire is so important. Definiteness of purpose and this burning desire is so important. Now, there's something else that you will read in both texts here, and this is what we're going to talk about, specificity and the problem of it and getting beyond it. So both books advise, and I'm sure you've all heard many teachers share the same advice, to be detailed in the specific dollar amounts. And if you were manifesting a home, be detailed about what the home looks like and how many rooms and all of those things. If it was a car you wanted to manifest, the color, the make, the model, the price, all of these wonderful things. Both texts advise even to put a date on the manifestation, that I want to have this thing by this date. And these instructions reflect stage 2 manifestor or manipulator thinking. We talk a lot about the 4 stages of spiritual unfoldment and development, and that's what this reflects. It's not there's anything wrong with it that you want. So then the purpose of writing in this way, the purpose of being specific, the purpose of being detailed is for you. The purpose of being detailed is for your focus. The purpose of you writing is so that you can learn how to hold an idea in mind instead of the foolishness you've been meditating on. The purpose for you writing and being detailed is for you to prove to yourself that there is a law that is at work and it responds to you. That's the only reason we go through that process. It's to prove to yourself that this law works. It works every time. It works for you. It works for Sally Sue. It works for your mother. It works for your brother. It works for them over there. It works for them back there. That's the purpose. And that's what that stage is all about. For us to understand that this thing is and it works and it responds to you. But once you have learned that it works, it's time to get beyond specificity. The only reason we get specific is so we can learn that this thing exists, so that we can learn how it works. And once we learn how it works, it's time to get beyond specificity. And so, as I said, that stage 2 is the manifestor manipulator stage. Then stages 3 and 4 are the through me and as me stage. And you've heard myself and Pastor Yolanda say this. This is what we're teaching here at CSC. We want you to move to the through me and through the as me place, because there is so much power here. There's so much joy here. There's so much freedom here. And so we have to understand in stage 3, Reverend Michael Beckwith, he says that stage 3 is the stage of visioning. And this is why many times the life visioning process doesn't work or doesn't click for a lot of people, because you see Michael Beckwith on The Secret, and so you're like, oh, manifest, 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 manifest. And then he's talking about this process that sounds very different. He doesn't ask you to write things down. It doesn't ask you to get specific. It doesn't ask you to put a date and put God and paint God into a corner to give you what it is that you want to manifest. And so in an interview talking about visioning, he says, we're not here to tell God what to do or to ask God for things, but to absolutely be available for what God is already doing. To open ourselves to catch what's already happening. When we do visioning, we align in consciousness with our divine purpose, which is to love and express a greater degree of life. Then we open ourselves to catch a sense of how that expression is supposed to occur through us. This takes us out of the specificity. This takes us out of the writing stuff down. Actually, once you visioned, now you got a real idea of what God is doing. You write that down, right? Then you begin to meditate on that. But you don't start with this manipulation of God, this manipulation of the law. Again, I use that word not in a way to be critical. It's literally what it is if we think about the word, right? When we're deliberately doing that, what we're doing is we're deliberately and definitely making use of the law. But when we move to this greater understanding, we deliberately and definitely recognize that we are one with the law. We deliberately and definitely allow ourselves to be used by the law. We deliberately and definitely allow the law to operate through us, as us. And so I was reminded, there was a internship I had, it was the summer between when I graduated from high school and started college in the fall. It's a great internship in the music industry. And the motto of the internship, of the program, was people can't be what they don't know exists. It was an internship that was designed to introduce African American students to behind the scenes work in entertainment, right? Everybody wants to be a rapper, everybody wants to be a singer, everybody wants to make beats. But there's so many other things that you can do in the recording industry. And so it was a wonderful thing, and it makes sense, right? Because there's so many young people that didn't know what an A&R person really did, or there's so many people that don't understand, not so much now, this was back in the day, but the distribution side and you know, what happens there, or what happens in radio, or who are the liaisons that are working with the record company and the radio to get, you know, to help push an artist and break an artist through. So that's wonderful. And so there are many people that, because they got to intern with someone in those positions, they had something new to aspire to. We understand that, right? But again, that's stage 2 thinking. That's still based on what we see. I can't be what I don't see, right? I can't be what I don't know exists. But when we understand this idea of the world needing practical dreamers, and we understand that practical dreamers are not just those that are dreaming for the sake of dreaming, then we recognize that we get to this place of, when we use visioning, we're no longer talking from this place of, I'm manifesting what exists, right? Because we can do that, right? I love to read Rob Report, right? And I love to see like just the amazing homes, and without fail, when I look through an issue month to month, I learn about something that I didn't know existed before. It's like, oh, I want that. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that kind of boat existed. I didn't know that this piece of technology existed. I didn't know that this kind of diamond existed, right? And all of a sudden now I have something to aspire to. That's wonderful, right? But with visioning, you're tapping into this realm, this kingdom where everything exists, everything that exists in form now, but everything that is seeking to exist. Do you realize that your iPhone existed in the mind of God at the beginning of time? Hear that. Your smartphone, whatever it is, this iPad, it existed in the mind of God at the beginning of time, whenever that was, when Noah was around. The iPhone existed in the mind of God. And so we recognize then that we have the opportunity to tap, well, let me step back, because also you realize that everything that was needed for the iPhone to be has always existed. All of the materials, it wasn't like somebody invented the pieces that, what happened is they tapped into the mind of God and made use of what was to bring it forth. All right, that's a message all by itself. So then we recognize in visioning what we're tapping into is into these absolute new ideas. This is why it's so important, as Napoleon Hill talked about, I shared earlier, that idea why we can't scorn dreamers or scorn imagination, and we can't be afraid of new ideas. Because that which we have not seen, that which we have not experienced, is what the world is calling for. So not only practical dreamers are not those who just dream for the sake of dreaming. The world needs those who are transforming the desire into manifestation, transforming it into actionable steps, transforming it into something we can see, taste, touch, and smell. That is what the world is calling for now. But not only that, the world is calling for those who are working with the law and proving that it works. So again, this is why we go through these stages. This is why we go through these classes. This is why we learn these, because now you've got it. Now you know how to use it, and now you can be made use of by the all that is. But we don't just need people that are proving that the law works and manifesting stuff, and that's wonderful and that's cool. We need dreamers who are creating, not just creating on what exists, but creating based on what does not already exist in form. We need dreamers who are tapping into how love wants to express itself here and now. The climate crisis needs practical dreamers. Think about it. Yes, there are some solutions that exist here on the planet now, but we recognize that we need to tap into something that we don't currently have. We need to tap into a knowing that is not currently being expressed. The healed relationships all across the planet, in any way you look at it, requires practical dreamers. Those that are tapping into some new ideas, some new ways of relating, some new ways of communicating, some new ways of having a dialogue. The economy, if we want an economy that works for everyone, we have not seen that yet, which means we can't operate based on what exists. We need to tap into the mind of love and ask love, how does justice look from your mind? Let justice be. Let justice act in you and as me. Love, what does equality look like from your mind? I am open, I am available. I want you to operate through me. I want you to operate as me. I recognize that I can't operate on what exists. People have tried to be equal. People have tried to make things look equal, but it has not worked. We need practical dreamers. Practical dreamers that are tapping into that reality. This is what the world needs. But it starts with our understanding individually of desire. Not being afraid to desire. Being willing to write down that desire, and if you've never done it, or maybe you did it a long time ago and so you're out of practice, come back to those introductory steps. Come back to that, writing it down. What do I really want? What would I love my life to be? What would I like for it to see? This is why we go through that very process in 4 T's, right? I'm literally living the vision that I wrote in 4 T's 10 years ago. I would not be standing in this room. I wouldn't know any of you had I not written the vision of founding and being a leader of a spiritual center 10 years ago. And so many other things. Looking at Malcolm, and we just moved her into the dorms yesterday. We're proud. But I look back to what I wrote 10 years ago when she was 7 years old. And I look at her now and I'm seeing what I wrote, right? Holding the vision. So it's so incredibly important that we prove that to ourselves and that we know that. We know that inside and out, that there's a law, that it works. And that is the only way that then you can trust this process of visioning. See, many of us, we've tried the vision because we heard it was good to do, and you've heard us talk about it, and you've heard Reverend Michael, and you're like, oh, okay, visioning, I'm supposed to do that. But you actually don't trust the law yet. You haven't really demonstrated that it works show enough, as my grandmother would say, in your life. And so, hang out there. Again, when I talk about, call this the manifestor manipulator stage, again, that's not a criticism. You must master that. You must understand that there is a law that works. And when you write it down, and when you focus on it day and night, again, not write it down and then pick it up a month later. That's wishy-washy, that's wishful thinking, that's wishful behavior. But you must live in that definite place. You must live in that place of a burning desire, an obsession even. You become possessed by this thing, and it is leading and guiding you. And of course, miracles will happen, and wonderful things. The how is not your business, and the ways in which it shows up and the way it comes to you and comes through, it's going to be amazing. You'll have a testimony. You have some things to share. All of that so you can live in this trusting place that now you can just say, what is seeking to emerge from the mind of God as my life? And you listen. Recognize that, I don't have to give, God is not Santa Claus. I don't have to give him my metaphysical list, manifestation list. I simply allow. And when you allow, because you are one with this thing, everything you could ever want will be included. Just will. So with that, I invite you to stand. As we breathe in and breathe out, I bring my mind, I bring my focus, I bring my attention on the absolute truth that there is a mind, there is a power, there is a presence that is working in, through, and as all things. This power, this presence, it is infinite. It is working in, through, and as the sun, and in, through, and as the other stars. It is working in, through, and as the planets in our solar system and beyond. It is working in, through, and as the trillions of galaxies known and unknown. It is working in, through, and as every beautiful being on this planet, animal, plant, insect, human, It is working in, through, and as all of us, and it is present down to the very cellular level of our being. I remember and I recognize that it is the all that is, and I recognize that I am one with the all that is. I recognize here and now, my sister, my brother, you are one with the all that is. That same energy, that same power that empowers the sun, whatever that battery is that keeps that sun shining, that thing you are one with. Whatever that thing is that allows our planet to keep spinning and spinning and spinning in orbit, you are one with that thing. Whatever that intelligence is, whatever that mind is, whatever that knower is, whatever that creator is, you can call it whatever you want. You are one with it. That power, you are one with it. That thing that works in and out of season over and over again. It doesn't matter how foolish we act here on this planet Earth. It is still allowing our earth to spin. It brings the rain to the just and unjust. It gives us the beauty of the flowers no matter what. That thing, that power, you are one with. That unconditionally loving presence, you are one with it. And as I stand in the recognition that we are one with you, Mother, Father, God, that we are one with this power, this peace, this presence, this mind, I am grateful that it responds to us. I am grateful for this law that is always in operation, that what we focus on expands. This law that is always in operation, that thought can turn into things. This law that is always in operation, that we can deliberately be, do, or have whatever it is that we want. This law that is always in operation, that is no respecter of persons. This law that is always in operation, that is unconditional. This law that is in operation, that does not judge us. This law that is always in operation, that does not stop us. This law that is always in operation, that does not block us. It is flowing, it is free, it is endlessly pulsating, endlessly expanding. It never dies. And I am so grateful to know that as we make use of this law and as we prove this law in our own lives, we have the powerful and profound opportunity to tune into the frequency of love, recognizing that there is an eternal broadcast that love is always seeking to express itself in, through, and as us. The channels, in, through, and us. The terminals, in, through, and as us. The receivers, in, through, and as us. The givers. And I am reminded in my mind in this moment, Quincy Jones, he teaches musicians to always leave a door cracked in the studio, to leave room for love to get in. I hear the words of Quincy Jones. He says, as people ask him so many times, how are you able to continue to thrive and do? He said, you got to remember you're a channel, you're a terminal. You're not the power. Oh my God. Woo! You are not the power, but there is a power, there is a love, there is a joy, there is a thriving and a thriver that is seeking to express in, through, and as you. And as we prove the law, now we live in this place of allowing. We set down our controls, we take our hands off of the wheel, and we let love operate in, through, and as us. We let love guide us. We let love secure us. We let love nurture us. We trust in love and only love. And as we do that, as practical dreamers, we will create a world that works for everyone. I am so grateful and thankful for those that are here and within the sound of my voice. The practical dreamers that are making use of the law and proving the law and will be the terminals, will be the receivers of those grand and great ideas that transform our planet and our world. For this truth, I am so very grateful. I release this prayer right here and right now. And together we say amen. Amen. Ashe. Ashe. And so it is. So it is. Thank you, God.
Have a seat, everybody. There is a thriving and a thriver. There is a force that is alive and well. There's a thriving and a thrive. There's something within you that is looking for the practical dreamers, that is awaiting you to say yes to being a practical dreamer, that is awaiting you to realize that you're worthy of being this practical dreamer. This thriving, this aliveness is just waiting for you to say yes so that it can say yes. We're so grateful to know this, that it's not waiting for you to get more degrees. It's not waiting for you to be and look or do a certain thing. It is just waiting for you to say yes. Yes, this idea. Yes, this longing. Yes, this desire is alive within me. I say yes to it. I want to be a practical dreamer. I'm not afraid of being a practical dreamer. When we realize and recognize that all we have to do is say yes and step back, life flows easily and effortlessly through each of us. Why? Because we're here. Why? Because we're here. We're not just here by accident. We're here as channels for the divine to express itself in new and amazing ways. So how this week are you going to take those yearnings of being practical dreamers and bring them to life right here and right now? Or are you just going to look at the circumstances and say, this ain't the time? Or are you going to decide that it is the time? This week as you go out, if the yearning is alive within you, it was put there by God. Now what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? What are you going to say yes to? I see you all as practical dreamers, or you wouldn't be sitting in this room. You wouldn't be studying the way you study. You wouldn't be believing and affirming the way you do. We look forward to hearing your love stories, the way that this comes alive in you. Thank you, Pastor.
In this moment, it is time to prepare for giving. So if there's anyone, if you need a pen or an envelope, please just raise your hand. Our ushers are happy to serve you. We have a hand over here in the front. It's adorable. And so as we are doing that, just a quick and easy reminder. I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law the other day. We were talking about giving and just keeping it really practical. We recognize that there is a law. There's a law of circulation. As you give, you receive. As you reap, you sow. Right? We understand that. And many times that is taught based on the idea of, if I sow $100, God's going to bless you. Sow $1,000, God's going to, right? It has nothing to do with the amount. It actually has nothing to do with the amount. You can sow $1 and not experience the truth of this law. Why? Because the point is the vibration behind which you give. If you give $1 fearfully, then you can only manifest that energy back in your life, right? So whatever the amount is, it must be an amount that you give in joy. Whatever the amount is, it must be an amount that you give freely, easily, and effortlessly, knowing that you are created to an eternal source that is always giving back to you in so many different ways. And so not only do you give in that way, but then it's important that you leave here in expectation. I think sometimes some people give and you're really giving in joy and you're excited and you want to support CSC and that's beautiful, but then you put on blinders out in the world and you don't see how you're receiving all week long and all day long. You don't see how you might be receiving as soon as you step out this door. So give in joy and then walk through the week in expectation. Looking, watching, waiting, knowing that this good must come back to you. Just say, if you were a gardener and you planted tomato seeds, would you just plant them and then never go back and look? You would keep looking and tending to your garden, knowing that you're about to get some delicious tomatoes. I see you, Marie. Right? You would do that. So why don't we do that when we give, when we plant into the garden of consciousness, to giving the same thing? Go look for it. All right? And then you can sing this song. So we affirm this truth. All the money that I use, returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle, of increase and enjoyment. All right, I call our ushers forward. Let's take the dance off.
I give my love, more love comes rushing back to me. Thank you. I give my time, more time's available to me. Thank you. I give my treasures, doors are opening for me. As I give, I receive. Yes, it's all coming right back to me. I give my love, more love comes rushing back to me. Thank you. I give my time, more time's available to me. Thank you. I give my treasures, doors are opening for me. As I give, I receive.
hands and through our hands, the very life deep, the life force that is you, Mother, Father, God. We are so grateful today that we get to be practical dreamers, that we get to allow this ever-present joy, love, peace, abundance, and creativity to flow through us this week. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, that we are the channels and you are the source. From this place of awareness, we bless the givers and the gifts, for we know and we stand in anticipation for the ways in which love will show up this week. We keep our eyes and our hearts open. From this place of awareness, I say amen. Ashe. So it is.
Let's affirm this together. I give my love, more love, comes rushing back to me. I give my time, more times available to me. I give my treasure, doors are opening for me. As I give, I receive. Yes, it's all coming back to me. Back to me. Just as easy as we dream. Coming back to me. Back to me. So as a reminder, we have the God Talk after service. We will start at 12:30 or as close as possible to 12:30. Bring your questions. If there's something you heard in the message or just a question about something that's going on in your life and you want to know how to apply the teachings to that, we're here. No question is off limits. We always have a powerful, transformative time at the God Talk. Again, if you're interested in joining me for the Abraham Hicks Masterclass, we start tomorrow. Registration is still open. Look forward to having you. And auditions are next Sunday, Soul 21.
Auditions. We are so grateful for your energy today. I feel this vibration so alive that something stuck today. Did something stick today? I feel it. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's something you need to release so that it can stick. If there's something that is preventing you, some fear, some doubt, some worry, some insecurity of any kind, please leave it on the altar. Leave your worries on the altar. And this week, our prayer champion, Reverend Akiva, will pray over it all week. We do not beg God. We do not barter with God. We do not beseech God, right? We understand these laws and principles, and we know that God is alive and well. And it's easy. Live in the vibration of the answered prayer. Being easy. Write it down and leave your worries. And when you do that, what do we say every week? All things are possible. Now, all things are possible. Now every little thing is possible. 'Cause I know who I am. And I know whose I am.
Now all things are possible. Yes, everything is possible. I know who I am, and I know who I am. I am inside. Now everything is possible. Why? Because we know who God is, and I know who I am.
Magnificent you are. And mighty you are. And you're amazing, yeah. You're so amazing, yeah. We love y'all.
Try this.